Well, hello there. Welcome to yet another episode of Critical Weight Theory. And this episode is going to be called Exploring Existential Questions Insights from Nietzsche to Frankl. So, on this podcast, I occasionally deal with, some fluff issues and all that kind of stuff. Pop culture stuff, movie reviews, TV shows, etc. But I also have some political content and some philosophical stuff. And this probably will not be the most deeply satisfying episode of all time, but here I'm going to delve into some existential questions that have puzzled humanity for centuries. And we're gonna kind of try to have a deep dive into it. Well, a quick deep dive, if that makes any sense. So we're exploring insights from some prominent thinkers, from ranging from Nietzsche to Viktor Frankl. So let's dive into that. It's going to be a quick episode, despite everything I just said. It's a deep dive, yet also it's as shallow a deep dive as can be had. So Friedrich Nietzsche, he was a philosopher known for his provocative ideas. He suggests that the essence of our existence lies in seeking answers to fundamental questions. And he had his own unique ideas. I'm not going to go into every single one. But, one of them was that he favored the concept of higher types of people, individuals who strive for a profound understanding of existence itself outside of mass culture. And that pursuit demands more than mere intellectual curiosity. It sort of requires a deep commitment to our beliefs and also challenging our beliefs, and a willingness to undergo rigorous self-examination, as well as, sort of deconstructing the culture around us. Asking about our own trappings and seeing how many things are actually holding us back from self-discovery. At least that's my understanding of Nietzsche. I'm sure other people have a fundamentally different grasp of what he put out into the world, but that's my sort of understanding of it. And it's when it comes to challenging dominant cultural ideas, it reminds me of Mark Twain's humorous remark, "I'm in favor of progress, it's change I don't like." That sentiment, it sort of underscores the seriousness with which Nietzsche encourages us to approach our convictions, even in the face of adversity, including self-imposed adversity. And what's really great about that Mark Twain quote is that it sounds kind of like a goofy one, but it's actually a little bit on the profound side, And it's sort of a significant observation that actually has some deep philosophical implications, dare I say it. It even kind of gets at the deeper questions about, like, what is the meaning of life? Like, if we're thinking of ourselves as being in favor of progress, yet afraid of change at the same time, how are we going to grapple with these bigger questions about existence in life? And of course, you might wonder, well, could that quest for meaning just be a waste of time anyway? That's another debate that people should have with themselves too. So maybe this whole episode is pointless, you know what I mean? But like other people, I didn't make this idea up, but I think one of the possible answers for the meaning of life is just to try to find your own meaning of life. That's sort of the simple test, is to create your own purpose. And it might not be perfect, it might not be something that everyone else understands. And, in some cases it might be something that breaks taboos. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately up to you to decide your own life's meaning. If you want to just take whatever values come down the pike and claim that they're your own or as good as your own or something like that. You can do that, but you will have to face the consequences that come with such conformity, just as you will have to face consequences if you are any sort of rebel. Or, well, let's face it, sometimes you might be perceived as a rebel without really being an active rebel in any real sense, because, a dominant culture, it can be very sensitive to anybody who is even slightly outside of the norm. Like, it reminds me of the stereotype of the person in the bar who demands that you have a drink, and if you don't have a drink, well, you're not a man or whatever. It's a bit like that. That conformity or societal standards, they're going to pose a problem no matter what. That's just part of existence. Yet we are social creatures, so you can try to be the hermit in the hills and, sort of romanticize that concept, but of course that has its own flaws, including the fact that you can simply go nuts living away from people, or whatever you want to call it. You can lead to self-destructive behavior just as much as, living among other people can. The existential questions that plague us, they've echoed throughout the ages. What is the meaning of life? What about art, creative expression, and meaningful work dynamic, family life? Oscar Wilde boldly proclaimed all art is quite useless, suggesting that the pursuit of meaning may transcend practicality. And there's also a great Family Guy sketch where there's like they show Peter Griffin, the main character of Family Guy. He's talking about one of his ancestors who was a great philosopher, and his wife is asking him about like their poverty, like how he's going to pay the bills and stuff like that. And his answer is to like look up to the sky and say why, like the impractical nature of philosophy is on display in that little scene. It's actually one of my favorite Family Guy moments. Not the biggest Family Guy fan, but occasionally I think they have some very funny stuff. I'm getting a little sidetracked there, but I just wanted to give you a little idea of, how these ideas even find themselves into pop culture. So anyway, another person I want to talk about here is Viktor Frankl. He's a Holocaust survivor and renowned psychiatrist, and he explored the quest for meaning in his seminal work, Man's Search for Meaning. He contends that finding purpose is essential for human resilience, particularly in times of suffering. So, one quote from Viktor Frankl is that happiness must happen. You have to let it happen by not caring about it. And Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps led him to observe what he called the intensification of inner life as a crucial factor in maintaining the will to live amidst despair. So that basically means finding meaning and a will to go on by sort of seeing virtue in survival itself, without necessarily all of the perks of survival. And there's something really profound about that if you can value life to that degree that you're seeing it sort of as a goal unto itself. And I think there's something powerful about that kind of messaging. It's really would you prefer to live or would you prefer to die? And there's something really moving about that. So, obviously, we've looked at Nietzsche's call for self examination and Frankl's emphasis on finding meaning and self discovery even in times of severe adversity. But, I hope these insights prompt people, any listeners out there, to confront life's most profound questions with renewed vigor and understanding. And, hopefully you'll look into some of these issues that I've raised or consider them further. I'm just kind of planting a seed here. And, I'm basically going to wrap up this little exploration of existential questions in this episode, and join me in some future installment where I can continue the journey into the depths of human inquiry. So thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day, if at all possible. And, keep rocking in the free world.